Welcome back to the Retail Initiative Podcast. I am excited. You're in for a good one. I have Morgan from Rich Hippie with me. Morgan, it's so good to see you.
I am so pumped to be here. It is starting the week off so perfect.
That's awesome. Yeah, one of my favorite things to do is just dig into retail stories and the stories of retailers, because I think a lot of times it's so encouraging when you hear other people that have struggled with some of the same things you have, or working through the same things. And then I'd love to talk through your business and what's working now and maybe what challenges are there. So tell us, first off, tell me about Rich Hippie. You have such a cool store. So tell us about it.
So Rich Hippie literally started out as a jewelry company. I started fun fact, I've been working in retail for more than half of my life. So when I was in college, my latest endeavor was I was at a store in Huntsville, Texas, where I went to school. It's in Houston. And while I was doing retail and kind of revamping this company and this business, I found myself in love with jewelry. I couldn't find the things that I wanted. So I started curating and making the things that I wanted myself. And I just had this really weird, iconic moment in my life, in my head. I knew where I wasn't forever. And I knew the moment I named Rich Hippie, I know exactly where I was standing, what jewelry piece I was looking at when I was naming my company, that would eventually be my retail brand 15 years from then. And it is absolutely amazing to see it in full fruition and to be back in full retail and still making some jewelry on the side. But that is really where the core of Rich Hippie started. Yeah.
And now, but you aren't doing mainly jewelry now. And I think it's so funny when I talk to retailers, the amount of retailers I talk to that started as one thing and what they're doing is just night and day different. Maybe not night and day, but significantly different. So what was it that made you pivot from just jewelry to starting to do clothes and that sort of thing?
For sure. So I started my life completely over at 26. I was really established in Huntsville and I followed my parents. They moved from the Houston area to Oklahoma City. And at 26, I packed up everything I owned and I moved to Oklahoma City and started my life completely over, stepped away from making jewelry and retail. And I was working for at the time, a very up and coming, which is now a very iconic jewelry company. Today, I was working for this retail store in Oklahoma City, obviously making jewelry, working for a jewelry store. It was a conflict of interest. So I put my business to the side to join this company. And it was the most amazing experience I ever had. So many highs, so many lows, and in good ways. But whenever I decided my time there was over, I put my 2 weeks notice in, took a leap of faith, and I joined a show in Round Top, Texas. If you guys are familiar with Texas Antiques Week, I used to set up there. That's where I first started selling Rich Hippie. That's where we sold retail clothing and stuff. When my time at the jewelry company was over, I knew it was time to not only start selling Rich Hippie again, but to incorporate the retail clothing, get back to what I truly loved. And that was dressing people, hanging out with people, making relationships and connections. And I put my 2 weeks notice in. In 2 weeks, Round Top was starting. So, I quit, had my last day, and the next day I was loading a trailer to head to Round Top, Texas to completely rebrand Rich Hippie for what it is now compared to what it was.
That's awesome.
I know.
And so early on, what would you say was one of the most important lessons you learned? Maybe one that you wish you learned a little bit earlier that helped you really start to gain traction in what you're doing?
Oh, I feel like that's a loaded question because I have so many. I think the one thing that is so important, and a lesson that is so importantly learned: do not burn your bridges. Always have a full heart, full faith. Do everything with 100% and pure intentions. I believe networking and connecting is the number one core thing to a business. It doesn't matter if you're selling ice to a polar bear. If you have the intention there, and it is so wholeheartedly, at the very end of the day, it is going to come full force, 100% back to you in a good way, a good positive way. Don't burn your bridges. Networking and connecting, learn from your mistakes, own your mistakes, that is probably the biggest number one thing. But then my second thing, which is, we'll talk about it later, take your own pictures for your merchandise and create your brand early on. That is it.
Oh my gosh. Take your own photos. If I could just
I know.
climb on a mountaintop and scream it as loud for every retailer to hear.
Yes.
That one. And I love what you said about not just like not burning bridges, but the positive intentions.
Yes.
I can't tell you how many times, I can think through my own story where I've done that well and I've done that not well, not just in my own intentions, but even just assuming good intentions of other people.
Yes.
And how hard it is sometimes, like when you're in a difficult situation, to go ahead and give the benefit of the doubt that even if their actions aren't what you love, like their intentions might be good.
Yes.
And I think the outcome we get to when you assume those good intentions is typically much better until they show otherwise.
Yes, staying positive and totally staying in the mindset. You can let, as a small business owner, your mind run rampant. And I promise you I do 24/7. I'm thankful for my core team of people in my family that help me get out of that. It's easy to get into that negative headspace and expecting the worst, fearing the worst. But if you can stay on that positive like trajectory, that path of positivity, internally for yourself and from other people, you stay like on cloud nine. I mean, you stay in a good headspace, and that is absolutely my number one thing, is trying to rewire your brain to stay that way.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So you started with that show.
Yep.
Round Top, which, to those of you that don't live in Texas, Round Top is this little bitty town in northwest of Houston. You could say it's almost like in between Houston and Austin. Yep. This itty bitty town that the state of Texas like descends on for, they call it Antique Week, but it really now is like,
it's like Auntie's here.
It's everything. It is everything. Everyone goes. So, but you started with these shows, but I know that now you have a thriving brick and mortar store. So where did you get the idea to okay, we really got to do this thing? And what was it that made you finally take the leap?
Oh gosh, I might babble, so you feel free to put your hand up if you need me to pause. Back to the network and connections. My time in Oklahoma City and my time growing up in Texas, I bebopped back and forth. My family's in Ardmore, Oklahoma, and we grew up in Houston. So I feel like we have been back and forth up and down I-35 all of our life. And I feel like the amount of people that we know from all these different areas, of course, going to school at St. Houston was a huge melting pot of people all over. We started, all the boutiques I worked at in college, I totally took advantage of Facebook and started selling clothes through it, right? That was unheard of. No one was selling and piddling things off on Facebook at the time. We were updating statuses from the night out or from the night before when we went out. I truly think that starting the networking, keeping all your people in your pocket was huge to me. Whenever I left that jewelry company and I thought, I can't just go and put everything on my website and expect people to shop with me. I've got to get face to face. I've got to get back into the retail shows that I've been doing, like the junior league shows, Round Top, which at the time was normally 2 weeks. At the time I started setting up, we were in Warrenton in the field. So we were really there for 3 weeks. We were trying to take advantage of the full time. So I knew I needed to be in places, and I just traveled. I was single. I didn't have kids. The world was just my oyster. I could do anything, go anywhere. So I traveled for it. And I thought, I've got to hit up all of these locations in places that I know people, places that I can continue networking with people, find people, have these customers in these different areas. And it was so cool. And I knew that would also bring people back to my website with social media. But that is 9-day difference from what it was 5, 6, 7 years ago to what it is now. We made it through show season. I got engaged. I started having kids. I will never forget, I think, leaving the Oklahoma City Junior League show or NFR. We did Cowboy Christmas. And I thought to myself, I don't care where I go, but this SHIT is going somewhere, and it is not in my house anymore. I'm done. Like it can be a warehouse. It can be a brick and mortar store that we warehouse out of and we can be open on weekends. I didn't know what it looked like, but I knew that's where we needed to be. And that was kind of where the retail store started. And, we're opposite. We started online and then moved into our first real brick and mortar store. So that was kind of the path that we were on.
Yeah. And so when you opened your storefront, I'm curious, what happened to your online sales when you opened your storefront?
Funny. I'm probably the world's worst business owner in the fact that I did not track things, or nor do I still the way that I should. But I will tell you, everything has been completely fluid. When I take a step back from social media, my sales are not there. And I take a step back from social media when I'm packing for shows. I mean, it was a one-man show for a while, and I would try to get all these friends and family, my husband, to come and help. So when I took a backseat to social media, when it came to doing shows, preparing to open a store, I felt like sales kind of dipped. And then my focus was on getting the store open. I don't know how to manage a team for my own business. This is the first time I'm learning to do that too. Getting operations set. I felt like they were doing a lot of this. And I knew in that moment I had to get open. I had to take care of my baby. I was pregnant again, did 2 under 2, which was wild. Oh my God. And I just knew that there had to be a change. I didn't know what it was. I will tell you where we are today. I did try several times in the past, but I didn't know what I needed. So I really had to sit down and think, what do I need to do? I had to ask myself hard questions that I don't normally ask myself. And I think that was the pivotal moment that I was like, okay, we got to get online sales consistent, because online is floating this warehouse, which turned into a full brick and mortar, right? We made it through the first year, and long story short, I had been following Capital Commerce. Shout out to Ruthie Grace. I know them through people at Sam Houston. I'd been following her and their company. And then I think you guys came to full circle. I was like, oh, you guys are at Lace Collective, my friend Lacey. Okay, this is cool. What are they doing? Okay, well, let me follow them for a while. And so I followed you guys for a while on social media. I joined Manifest virtually. I think I did like a seasonal thing where I was able to buy it virtually. I can't remember what it was, honestly. And I just kept with it. And then I thought to myself, is this a company I need to be with? I mean, to be honest, when you think about joining with a marketing company for your small business, I do not take this the wrong way. But sometimes when you're not as engrossed in it the way that you should be professionally, you almost wonder, like, is this, I don't know, not a scam, but is this like just another course that you pay for, another building class? You guys were the real deal that really helped shape my mind and my business to get where we are today. And I know we still have so much growing to do, which is probably why I'm never going to leave you guys. So it took a few months for me to really follow, dive into what you guys do, kind of educate myself, ask myself those questions again. And I'll never forget, I have these key core memories where I think I was laying in bed watching a show, and I was scrolling Instagram, and I thought, I need to join Capital Commerce to make my life easier. I'm managing a team. I've got 2 kids under 2. I don't really know what I'm doing with my team, to be completely honest. We are scaling. We're learning how to warehouse out of a store that's also brick and mortar. There's a lot of pressure on my girls. Am I leading properly? Anyways, that was the pivotal moment. And I was like, we've got to make a change. And it was with you guys. And it's truly made a huge difference in our life and our business.
Well, that's awesome. That's always amazing to hear. And I know you were definitely one of our team's favorites. Your name still comes up on a very regular basis when we were doing your site and working through your marketing strategy and all of those pieces. So as you were going through Manifest, which if those of you that are listening, if you're not, and I have a friend named Tara Austin. She owns a boutique called Ruthie Grace. We do occasional intensives. We do a live event. We do some really cool stuff. And so she got to join for one of our intensives, and then she worked with us in our program. But what has been one of the big things you've learned that has transformed like how you think about retail or e-commerce that's really helped you today?
Yeah. Well, so when I joined with Capital Commerce and I went through this, I call it like 15 weeks that we did? 12 weeks. I called it my 12-week boot camp. I was crazy because we were traveling the entire time through it. Talking to you, our first conversation we had when I was inquiring how it all went about, I mean, I'm not going to lie, I think I was on cloud nine. I was on a high. I was like, this is so great. Let's do it. How much money did it cost? I didn't even ask. I was like, let's get into it. I just want to do it. And you were like, do you want to know about extra details? And I was like, sure, just sign me up. I did not know what I was prepared for. You really helped me ask the questions you need to ask as a business owner to help level up. Things that I've never asked myself before, things that I've never thought. How do you continue to move the needle? Things that, you know, I told you from day one that I was squirrel brained. I would always ask, you know, why this? And you're like, don't let these things get in the way of what truly matters. Trying to stay focused, that really helped. You guys helped me stay focused. Creating a plan for myself. I mean, as an entrepreneur, it's hard to wake up every day and say, okay, well, what am I going to do? Like, you just write down what you have to do for the day and you try to accomplish it. You guys helped me learn how to ask the right questions, answer them properly. What do I need to do to get there? One major one that you guys taught me was learning how to delegate, creating that core team. I loved, there was a week in the program where you were like, there's 3 key aspects to this to make this work. Mm-hmm. You're here, the visionary. There's this second person, and then there's this third person. Sure, you can do it all. You're not going to do it 100%. Some people probably could. I cannot. And it really helped me learn how to shape my team. And we are so different, right? Like we're a retail company. We warehouse out of a brick and mortar store, and my sales associates on the floor are also helping do brick and mortar. E-commerce things also. We're very niched, very different. I'm sure a lot of people do this, but it's to the point where like each girl, I almost wanted to divvy up like different lead roles, different this, different that. And your course helped me realize my store manager was the most important thing. And now we're looking at hiring a third full-time person to, I say full-time, our core team member to help do online. Everything you guys have taught me down to, and I don't know if we extensively talked about doing launches and drops, or did we?
We do, yeah.
Yeah, that was probably part of it, the whole part of it. But moving into like the launches and drops, oh yeah, duh, because we had how you prep for marketing it, the 3-step program. That was huge. Sounds like common sense. It's not. There's so much more that goes into it that you guys helped me see so clearly. Doing your own photos. So we planned photo shoot days to get our own photos and create this vision and brand. I could talk in circles about this, but where I really truly took off was during COVID when we had nothing to do. And I'm sitting there styling outfits every single day on Instagram. And Lord, why did I not do TikTok then? I do not know, but I should have. But I stayed focused on Instagram. It's where I grew my personal connections with my friends and new friends, old friends. But styling every single day, it was kind of what the store and the brand got known for. And trying to figure out how to continue doing that with kids in a brick and mortar was driving me nuts. And when you put me on a plan for, okay, take your own photos to capture your brand, it was really hard for me to grasp, to be honest. Yeah. But then it just made sense because I was like, I am killing 35,000 birds with one stone on a Tuesday. When we're taking photos, we're getting video content, we're getting Instagram reels. And again, I have so much more work to do on that. But just getting that schedule, I mean, that is literally moved mountains, like worth every single penny and minute and time with you guys. Like it has changed us 100%.
That's awesome. So you've alluded to like helped you ask these really important questions.
Yes.
What would you say is one of those that like, things that maybe you weren't thinking through before, things that you really think that every retailer really needs to be asking themselves if they want to grow?
Ooh, okay, that's a loaded one because I feel like, I don't know if you specifically have said this, but things that have led to this. One thing I do ask myself, and I don't mean for it to be a selfish question, I just truly have to ask myself, because you've got 1,000 things going on in business. Is this thing that you're asking, is it going to make our store money? Is it beneficial to the store? And is it beneficial to our time? Because time is money. We don't have a lot of it. You're also trying to be a mom of 2 and a good wife, and have a work-home life balance. You're also trying to give your team that. Is this worth our time and money? If what we're asking to do, so I would ask you, I don't know, maybe it was that I asked you to install an app, for example, and you were like, well, what do you want to install that for? Well, I don't know, it looked pretty on the website. Okay, well, is that going to make you money? Is that worth our time in doing? What are the things, you say it so well, what are going to move the needle? And I think that's huge, because someone who is not diagnosed ADHD, but I swear that I am, especially as a small business owner and you're wearing all these hats, it helps you really stay so red line focused. Is this going to move the needle? Is it going to get us where we need to go? I'm not going to lie. I started setting alarms in my phone. If I have like a loaded day of things I need to do, I set alarms and it's like, start this project, start this, upload photos here, do that. And I think asking yourself, is it going to move the needle, and is it going to make you money, and is it going to be useful of your time?
I love that.
Yeah.
One of the things that early on helped me in that, and maybe we'll just do some live coaching for a second.
Yeah.
But was to like picture not a T, what's it called? Just like a
cross.
It's a quadrant though. So you have 4 quadrants.
Yeah. A 4 square.
And we put a line on it that was like, do we not enjoy it or do we enjoy it? Ooh. Was left to right, and then top to bottom was, does it make us money or not make us money? And we listed out on like little notepads or little sticky notes everything that we could think of that we do, and then we had to put it on the thing of like, okay, this doesn't make us money, but we enjoy it. Okay, let's make room for that because it fuels us. This makes us money and we enjoy it, and then you end up with things that don't make you money and you hate it. And so when we were done with this exercise, we basically looked at that bottom quadrant. We were like, okay, now let's just think is there anything here that's necessary? Like, it doesn't make us money. We don't enjoy it. But at the end of the day, you just can't get rid of it. Like, you could argue like dusting your brick and mortar store doesn't really make you money, quote unquote. And it's not something you enjoy, but you got to do it.
Right.
That type of thing. But how can we get rid of everything that's on that list? And then we started asking ourselves, how do we build something up that makes more room for all those things that we're enjoying and that are profitable? And how can we make it where our weeks are filled with like as much as possible in that quadrant?
Love it.
And then how do we create a plan for the things we don't enjoy, but they're necessary and they make us money? We had to think through those things as well, but just by listing that stuff out, it was so helpful.
Yes.
I don't know about you, but like when you own a business, it sometimes just becomes a beast. And then you're going through the motions, and if we don't stop and kind of assess at those moments, it gets hard.
Yeah, it becomes a little mundane. I will touch on somehow, I don't know if it was part of the program or if it was something you and I just vibed on, but learning to delegate. So going back to the, dusting in the store, it has to get done. You guys have really helped me learn how to delegate, some of those things, and being able to delegate things that you're normally like, oh, I can do it. This is my problem, my store, like this, that. No, it's all of our store. We're all a team. Learning how to delegate those things has freed up so much time for me to be able to work on things like investing in myself with Capital Commerce to get to where we are today. And that was huge. So I don't know if I've ever actually thanked you for that, because I'm not a big delegator. I now feel like 100% confident in being able to delegate.
That's so good. That is easily like top 3 lesson for people to learn that moves the needle.
Yes.
So what would you say, like, what's working now for you? So you're growing and those awesome things are happening. What are some things that you're focused on right now that, for retailers that are listening, that are like, please tell me something that's working?
Yes.
Like, what is that for you right now?
In the moment, things that are working for us are, planning our photo shoot days. I have outsourced someone to take photos and edit them to get them back quickly for us, focusing on our strategy of promoting our new launches and really trying to focus on, how we can talk to our customer, how we're going to remind our customer what things are coming up. We talked about the, what is it called again? I'm mind blanking.
Seasonal structure theory. Yes.
I still need to perfect that. Cannot lie on that one. But I know the concept and focusing on my customers and how we are like thinking for them with our new arrivals, and also just continuing to build those relationships online. Everyone knows it. Social media is weird now. It's changing. You're not getting as much traction as you used to. I miss having in-depth conversations on Instagram with people. It sounds really dumb, but I actually really enjoy it. It is, I know a lot of people have 1,000 things going on and they don't, that's like the last thing they want to do is, converse with a customer. Well, my customer service is served through social media, and, we've streamlined it to be through the website and for the store for certain things, but I want to focus on my customers, and that's what we've been doing. We've been focusing on the things that you guys have taught us, like I'm regurgitating it again, the drops, the strategy behind it, focusing on that to help move the needle in what we need for our website. Things that I still want to continue to jam on that are in our they're in our near future is I want to perfect being able to do ads by ourselves. But that also has been something that we're like, okay, didn't know you guys did that for the first 2-3 weeks of our course. And then I find out about it and I'm like, okay, we've got to be able to set some budget aside because we could outsourcing that. To go back to talking about online sales going like this, we did some ads at the very end of our 12-week program with you guys, and I noticed a huge change in some things. We specified on one product that we private labeled, blew out of it in maybe a month, and that was huge for us. Maybe let's give it 2 months. That was wild and so cool. Obviously, the results were there. I even saw someone at Dallas Market shopping, and I was like, "Hey, where did you get that?" Because I'm the only one that got this style. And she's like, I ordered it online from some online boutique, and I was like, I think that's me. So the ads are something that we really want to focus on in our future, and I really, this is just a personal thing, but so important. I've listened to, I think, Ruthie Grace talk about it during Manifest with you guys. You guys talked about it. I think maybe we talked about setting aside, maybe it was a weekend or a week. But really at the beginning of the year, sitting down and having I don't know if you want to call it a retreat, but a working weekend where I plan out my year. I want to start 2025 planned out. I want to know what I'm posting and when to take out that fatigue, because I am a little bit of a control freak. I will always do my social media. I want to be able to talk to my customers on there. I know when my Mama Kay is messaging me from Jersey, I know Mama Kay more than anyone else does. I want to know what I'm posting, when I'm posting for those people like Mama Kay. I want to have all of that planned out for next year. Again, so I can use my other time wisely on other things to help us scale next year and figuring out where we really want to be. We are super unique. We will always have an e-com. My husband works in oil and gas. We will never be in one location forever. So I've got to stay changing. I've got to stay fluid. I've got to keep online growing, and I want to invest my time in that. So that's what we're focusing on now. Those are 2 huge projections for next year of what we want to focus on. And I think obviously one will help the other. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, Morgan, I loved having you on this podcast. Thank you. For those listening, I hope it's been encouraging for you as well. Morgan, if people want to find you, whether it's to shop with you or follow you on social, where can they find you on your website and Instagram?
Yes, www.richhippie.com, and it's actually spelled RICHEHIPPIE. A lot of people call it Rich E Hippie. You can call us what you want, just call us, but it's Rich Hippie. And if you guys have not visited the lovely town of Stillwater, Oklahoma, my husband is a Boomer Sooner, so we are in the opposite territory of the Cowboys in Stillwater, Oklahoma. OSU is the university there. You guys, there's a lot to offer there. Oklahoma City is really fun. So is Tulsa. Y'all take a trip to come see us. We're right there in downtown. We have the cutest little downtown with tons of other boutiques to shop. It's a really cool destination location. So you guys can come visit us in Stillwater.
I think Oklahoma is so underrated. It is underrated. Love Stillwater. I love Oklahoma City. I love Tulsa.
I love
super
Tulsa.
Fun cities.
Yes.
So, awesome. Well, it was so good to have you. And for those listening, we will see you next time on Retail Initiative, and we'll see you soon. Hey, thanks for tuning into this episode of the Retail Initiative podcast. If you want more free resources, trainings, downloads, you can get those at madebycapital.com/podcast. Again, that's madebycapital.com/podcast. And for those of you that are serious and really want to take the success that you've built in your brick and mortar storefront and you want to create that same level of success online, I invite you to schedule a free call with me at madebycapital.com/schedule. Where we'll dig into your business, like where things are now, where you're wanting to go, getting really clear on your goals, and what are the 2 or 3 things that might be standing in the way of getting there. Now, look, if we're a good fit, I'd love to share what that looks like. And if not, my hope is that you leave with clarity on where to focus for you to reach your goals. So again, thanks for tuning in. And as always, leave a review, make sure you're subscribed, and I cannot wait to see you next time.